We are back, everybody. Episode 48 of the Jader and Kyle show is here. It's been a while. Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone. It's been a couple weeks. Life kind of happens. It gets in the way. We'll discuss all of that as we go on. But
It's his fault.
I think it's a little mixed. But as always, I'm joined by my co-host here, Mr. Jader Paramo. Welcome back, sir.
Welcome back indeed, man. It's been a while. Very excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We've been busy, man. We've been busy, with our lives and with, watching movies, man. The movies are back. Very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth that the movies are back. We're actually sitting in theaters.
Yep.
We had both movies we're reviewing open this weekend, and they made they did some damage in the box office, man. So very, very happy. I went over to Texas this week, and shout out to my little brother, graduated high school. Super unexpected trip. Like, found out Thursday that I was going and landed Friday to Texas,
Yeah.
But actually pretty cool. It kind of relates to movies. He graduated from the high school where Friday Night Lights takes place.
Okay. So was Kyle Chandler there? Was Kyle Chandler
there? Woody Harrelson was there, even though just because he's from Midland or Odessa, But yeah, dude, it was really, really cool being in the actual stadium where that shit went down, man. I'm like, man, this is cool. He graduated on the football field, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Makes it too. Like, that's an extra benefit to going to see your family graduate,
Yeah, no, it was great. And then he's like, look, man, you like movie sets? Here you go. And then so I thought that was great. Yeah, man, they know it was crazy because when the valedictorian was speaking, her speech ended with, we're the most popular high school in all of the United States. And I was like, oh man, I like that they used that.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good time, man. I can't believe my little brother, man. I'm 17 years older than him. So, like, I obviously
now, yeah.
So
you graduated when he was born.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like my firstborn was graduated, but he's big, man, and he's moving back to Miami. So I'm excited. He's gonna be staying with me because he wants to do the EMT firefighting thing too.
Okay.
So he's coming back home, man. I'm excited to have him back. He's been gone for like 7 years. I mean, I see him here and there, during the holidays and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Having him here permanently it's gonna be a lot of fun, dude. And then he's grown, you get me? So he's not like he's my little brother, but he's 18. He's my, he has his own personality now. I had such a blast with him over the weekend.
He hit puberty. Things have changed.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
This past couple of weeks we've had a lot going on. Like you said, you went to Texas just recently. I went to a wedding a couple of weeks ago. It's been tough to schedule things, everyone, these past couple of weeks, but also just like to line up our schedules because we are busy people right now. There's a lot going on. You guys might have seen our reviews of other movies that we put out there. We did a short little segment a couple of weeks ago with Woman in the Window and Spiral and whatever the other one. Oh, the J Balvin documentary.
Yeah.
So we're kind of going to do that today, guys. We're going to be reviewing A Quiet Place Part 2, but also talk about the earlier one. Same thing with The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. We're going to cover the other two as well. Not in detail. We're not going to go into categories or whatever. We're just going to talk in PS because it's been a little bit. And then Cruella. We're going to talk about Cruella also for you Disney fans out there. So it should be a fun show. But I do have an announcement to make. Things have been changing quite a bit here, and there's been a lot going on. So, guys, basically, this is my last show today. I'm going to be taking off, and
it's going to be the Jader show now.
Jader show, yeah. Life's changing a lot, guys, and it's just getting more difficult to do this. So, I'm not going to drag on and give this whole spiel. I'm just going to step out for a second, introduce everyone to your new co-host.
What's up, guys? How's it going? So you just quit on me on air, which is freaking great. If you didn't give me the heads up, like 5 minutes.
By the way, guys, yeah, like I'm not quitting. I'm still here. I'm not stepping away. But I do have an announcement to make. I do. I am no longer going to be a citizen of Florida. I am taking off. I am getting out of Vero Beach, getting out of the Sunshine State, and I'm moving to New York City next month, guys. July 15th, I will be out of here, moving out, and actually moving in with someone who is a part of the website. You might know Gia Doxy from our Pop Culture Pros. She's got a couple shows on here. She's got a Jersey Boys podcast. She had a room open up in her apartment with her other roommate, and I jumped on that opportunity. So I'm moving to the city. It's something I've always wanted to do. I've been really excited about this for a long time now, and it's finally coming together. So I'm going to be in New York City starting next month, guys.
Congrats, man. Congrats, man. I'm really happy for you. I know this is a big move. But what better place? It's your dream city. You've said it multiple times on this show, man. So, I'm going to miss you, even though we don't see each other. But yeah, dude, it's when you told me the news, man, I was like nothing but happiness, dude. That's fucking great. Now you can determine you've never been there, right?
No, I've been to the city before. I visited, I think about 5 times is what I've been there. But now I'm going to be moving to Queens and being a permanent citizen there. And I'm really looking forward to that. I know Tim lives in New York, and I'm looking forward to meeting Tim sometime. I think Eric lives up in New York too, in the area. So Eric's gonna be fun to meet in person. So our boss Steve, he actually lives in the same neighborhood that I'm moving to. So it's gonna be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. Next month, guys. It's gonna be, and my background's gonna look different after this. So we're gonna change up a few.
So it's funny that you said that, because I went to go buy a frame for I got my EMT. So I got my diploma, and the diploma came in, and I wanted to frame it, which is over there. And I was looking, I'm like, I gotta fix my background, dude. If this is where I'm gonna do my shows, I gotta do some shit to this. It was like I was overthinking. I just left. I was at Hobby Lobby. Let me tell you, man, Hobby Lobby is the shit. So many great things in that place. I had never been there. So I thought it's really, really cool. So if they have one up in New York, I would check it out.
I'm pretty sure they got everything up there.
Yeah, of course. And then you can, I don't know, the reason why I asked you if you've been to the city or not is if you can, tell me once and for all if New York pizza really is the best pizza in all the world.
I'll be the official judge of that.
I know these snobby New Yorkers, automatically think that, but, I needed to hear from somebody that isn't a New York native.
You know what we need to do is you got to take me to your favorite pizza place, okay, before I leave. And then when I get up there, then I'll find what they say is the best pizza place. And then
you are leaving 2 days before my birthday, so we're definitely going to hang out before you leave. I will write that, even though it's my birthday, but I will, take you to my favorite pizza. You're paying, but I'll take you. I'll let you know.
I'm going to be paying for a lot these next couple months. I got a lot to start saving up for, but it's going to be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it. Tim, I don't know what your borough is. I guess it's Queens, because that's where I'm going to be. So hopefully you're around there, and you can show me around too. So it's going to be a good time. I can't wait to do this. I'll show you guys my apartment and stuff once I move up there. But yeah, this is the next step in my life, and I can't wait to start it. So transition from there, we are going to talk about some of the movies. This past week, there has been a lot of activity at the box office. Like, people are finally going back to the movies again, and I'm really excited about that. That it feels like the movie theater going experience is back. I was at the theaters this past weekend. There was people on their cell phones recording it, and people throwing popcorn. It was like it never missed a beat. I don't know if you've been back to a general audience theater lately. We go to screenings. We've been going to screenings for a couple months now. But to be in a regular audience again was definitely something surreal, because it's been over a year now at this point to actually go to a real movie. So I don't know. You want to talk about A Quiet Place first?
I haven't been to. Oh, I'm lying to you. I saw Army of the Dead in the theater. Never mind. No, I was like, I think I've only been going to screeners. Luckily, I've been lucking out with that. Either way, had I not gotten in, I would have been in the theater regardless. But thank God for Pop Culture Pros and the things and what we do here. We're privileged to get to go see those movies beforehand. But yeah, no, Army of the Dead was one screening. I don't think they even had one. I'm not sure what happened, or maybe the invite got lost in the mail, whether or not. That was one movie that I definitely wanted to see in theater. I knew it was a Netflix movie. I knew it was, it was roll of the die if it was going to be good or not. But zombie film in theater just, calls to me, man.
Yeah.
Which I think helped. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think helped my experience with that movie just a little bit. I know we didn't mention Army of the Dead, but we can kind of talk about that very quickly. It's a movie to
Okay. Yeah.
we never touched on it, but
Let's
yeah,
add it to the list of movies we'll talk about briefly tonight. There's going to be quite a bit, but we're gonna let's just start there. The latest from Zack Snyder, who's having a big year this year, obviously with the Snyder Cut, which that could be his apex mountain right there. Is the Snyder Cut? He got everything he finally ever wanted, and got his movie out there, his 4 hours, and people loved it. So he followed that up 2 months later with Army of the Dead, which went to Netflix. But I know Warner Brothers sold it off, and I feel like they're kicking themselves for that right now because around the same time they released Those Who Wish Me Dead on HBO Max, and didn't watch that at all compared to Army of the Dead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was I didn't see Those Who Want Me Dead. I can't.
It's not bad.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't, and and I'm a big Tyler Sheridan fan, so I'm surprised I wasn't one that was really. It just wasn't on my radar. Again, this is something that you're probably going to hear over and over again. It might be just the bad marketing on it. I didn't hear enough about that film, honestly. I just heard it was, I heard about it maybe a week or two before it released, and I didn't really care about it. But Army of the Dead, obviously, is something I did know about for over a year. I want to say it's been a while since I knew that he was working on a second zombie film since Dawn of the Dead, which I think. That's all. That can be a whole episode that I can talk about Dawn of the Dead, to be completely honest.
Not today.
Yeah, not today. But you know what? I overall really enjoyed this film. It has so many plot holes and so many issues with it. But I just had a good time. I think the reason why was because I didn't go in there trying to critique it or I just went in there because I wanted to have a good time. I wanted to see some zombies, and that was it. Like, leave my brain at the door, shove popcorn, in my mouth, and just, overall enjoy it. One of the things that I absolutely love about this film that I can't say enough, and this is something else that you're gonna hear me talk about more than once today: the opening credits. I thought the opening credits to this movie were fantastic. Beautifully shot by Snyder. If it's one thing that the man can do, in my opinion, is he knows how to make a pretty film. Very polished. There's some questionable CGI in the film, I know that, but overall it looks nice. The scale of it looks nice. But I loved the storytelling he did. It kind of did remind me. A lot of people that I've talked to, they're like, dude, I've never seen anything like that. I really like the opening credits. It kind of did remind me of Zombieland. How Zombieland was telling a story while playing, Metallica, which, again, one of my favorite bands of all time. And, anytime you start off a movie with Metallica, I'm automatically in. Like, you automatically happy. But the way he was telling the story of everything that was going down, I thought was so great. And who would have thought that the zombie apocalypse in a Zack Snyder film was caused by Roadhead? I thought that was fantastic too. That I was like, "Are you serious? This is how it's going down, dude."
So I know you love this movie, and you were hyping it up to me before I even got a chance to see it. And so I took a night to sit down and watch it. And I went into it the same as you. I didn't want to critique it or anything. I just wanted to have a good time, enjoy it. And that's exactly what I did. I thought this movie it moves, even though it's like 2.5 hours, it does move along pretty steadily. I think a lot of the characters are really interesting. Actually, I feel like most of them are over Batista. I feel like Dave Batista is a good little anchor, but he's really not the most interesting character compared to everyone else. But I called you after I saw this movie, and I didn't want to critique this, but it was just something that bugged me the entire time. That's sitting in the back of my mind. So the plot of this movie is a rich guy hires Batista to get a crew together to go rob his casino down to open the safe down his casino with $200 million in it. And they hire a safe cracker, they hire like a tracker, all these people to go in there. My biggest problem was if it's his safe, how come he didn't just give them the combination? Why did they need to hire a safe cracker?
So I talked to one of my friends about that, right? And he's like, okay, see your point, and I get it. And he goes, however, he's like, the mission was never the money. That was a suicide mission that he sent them on because he wanted the head of the zombie to make their own super zombies. And he's like, whether he had it or not, he's like, he wasn't going to give it to him because that money was all a decoy for them to get what he really wanted. So
but
I was like,
no one in the crew was like, well, if it's your safe, why don't you just give me the combination?
Well, that is a whole nother conversation, but that's the reason why he didn't give it. Like, that was just dumb character writing right there.
Yeah.
But yes, like when I mentioned that to him, he's like, oh yeah, I see what you're trying to say. And then he's like, but remember that the head was what they wanted, which is kind of spoilery. And I didn't want to get into spoilers with this movie. But yeah, I mean, overall, I feel like I like the ensemble cast, to be completely honest with you. I thought overall they really did work well.
Mm-hmm.
Ella Purnell's character is the only one that I personally couldn't stand, and it's the character, not her. So I don't like Kate, not Ella. Ella, I think she's a fine actress. I just didn't like a lot of the decisions that she made in the film. It actually really pissed me off towards it. But overall, I feel like this movie has, again, it's plot hole galore and all that. You got to go in there with just not expecting too much out of this film, but I feel like you'll have fun with it.
Yeah.
Great action, great zombie fun, very different takes on zombies as well, which is something that we've never seen. There's a specific scene that requires like zombies hibernating, which I know some people are like, what, they hibernate? I don't know. I thought that was a really interesting take. And that scene was kind of tense for me. I thought it was a really good, like, holy shit, like kind of edge on my seat film. But if we're going to talk any standouts within, if we're going to shout anybody out, man, Matthias, I don't know. I'm going to butcher his last name. Matthias Schweigenhofer.
Is he the safe cracker?
Plays Jader, along with Amari Hardwick, which I know really well from Power. I absolutely love him. He's the lead in Power. But their little bromance that they have going on, it starts off really like they don't like. He's like, what is this guy doing here? This big buff guy. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, he just, they build this bond with each other where they're just kind of like looking out for each other. I really, really like that. I felt like every character, for the most part, plays what they need to do. They go in there, the ass kickers are kicking ass, the bad guys are being bad. The comic reliefs are throwing jokes and making us laugh. I feel like
Taro is great. She's just like, she's chewing up scenery. She's just being herself. Like that. One of the best moments in movies when they go to hire her and they're like, "We'll give you $2 million," and she's like, "I'll do it." And they go, "Do you know what you're doing?" And she's like, "Nope. My life sucks, and $2 million will make it a hell of a lot better."
Which was really impressive with that was I had no idea that she was hired after.
Yeah. And she never met the entire cast.
She never met the cast. So every scene that she was in was just put there by Snyder without, basically she was the only one doing the reshoots. Thought that was pretty impressive.
She knew what she was doing, and I feel like the movie itself didn't take itself too seriously, and that's what made it better too, is it knows it's a fun zombie action movie, and we just want to go in there and entertain you. That's exactly what it does, and I think it's one of the better Netflix movies that come out this year, especially better than Woman in the Window. So I give a thumbs up to Army of the Dead, and I know for sure you do too, Jader. Yeah. Let's jump into A Quiet Place, Part 2. So A Quiet Place, the original, is one of my favorite horror movies. I think it's such an innovative idea. Yeah, it's a gimmick, but it's a gimmick that works to tell a great story. And it's not even really much of a horror movie as it is a family film in the darkest way possible. It's the story about this family that's trying to live their lives and survive after this apocalyptic occurrence happens. And if you don't know the plot to A Quiet Place, which I know a lot of people probably do at this point, but if you don't, um, aliens, basically what you find out in the second movie, aliens have invaded, and they can only hear. They attack and they kill with through sound, but they can't see anything. And so this family's been living in complete silence for the longest time. And eventually one day things just come back to everything catches up with them eventually, and that's how the first movie goes. And this movie picks up right after the first one, and I really like that about
literally the same room they were in. Like where it ends in the first one, it picks up right, like, right there, which I loved. I absolutely loved that about A Quiet Place too.
And I feel like what really I love about this film is that there was a story here. John Krasinski didn't even want to direct this in the first place. He was like, I'll come up with a story, and then you guys can go find a director or whatever. And he tells the story, as he was writing the story, he goes, damn it, I'm going to direct this movie.
Do this. Yeah. Do this.
I have to do this.
It's the same story right now with 3, where he says he's writing 3, but he doesn't want to direct it.
But he knows he will.
Yeah, I think so, man. This is his baby. You got to take care of it. And one thing that I definitely want to shout out before I start giving my thoughts on this film, shout out to John Krasinski.
Yeah.
He absolutely murders it. He absolutely murders it. I didn't know if I wanted a sequel to this movie. I kind of liked the way that the first one ended, where it just leaves you like, what happens? And I thought it was a brilliant film. I thought it was very different. I know a lot of people saw Bird Box before they saw this because it went straight to Netflix and it came out during the same time. A huge mistake in my opinion. In my honest opinion, I think this should have been watched first. And I think this is caliber's better than Bird Box.
It's miles ahead of Bird Box.
Yeah. But quick shout out to him. Let me go back. I know you didn't go to the screening that I did, but that was honestly one of the best experience I've ever had in a screener. It felt like, hey, we're back in the theater, and that's exactly what he wanted to do. I understand completely why he held off to this film. This movie was literally coming out a year ago. Well, over a year ago, it was in March of last year, right when the nation shut down. Like it was shutting down, everything was getting canceled, and he himself withdrew the movie from the theater. And he goes, "You guys are gonna have to wait to see this movie." And I'm so glad he did that, because slowly but surely studios started getting scared, and they, Disney being one of them with the Pixar films, and started, Trolls started going video on demand, and this is something that I feel like you have to experience in the theater. But going back to the screening part, when we got invited to this movie, huge line, right? So people actually wanted to go see this, which was great. And, and whoever was fortunate enough to, whether you got it from Pop Culture Pros or any advanced screening that gave you your ticket and you were there, how lucky we got.
That's reflective in the box office too.
People see this. Yeah, I think the word of mouth helped it a lot, because so many people were there and just in awe of how much they liked the film. But they also had, as you were walking in, they were giving you were giving a little white paper away, right? Everybody was grabbing this white paper, and they were saying, you take this as a concession stand and you get a free drink, free popcorn, and free candy. And there's a photo booth. And then, they had people like, I showed you my picture where it looks like I'm running away from the monsters and things. But it looked really cool. How it looked like an event, right? And then we all sit down, we all get in our seats, and all of a sudden they introduce John Krasinski, and he introduces the film to us.
Yeah.
And you can tell that this was very important for him, this project of his. You can tell how much heart and just how much this means to him, because he was like, please, he goes, if you liked it, please tell people to come watch it. And he goes, this is the only way to watch this movie. You have to come to the theater to see it. And I really, I like stand by him on that, because there was a point in time where I was freaking out a little, where I didn't think I thought theaters were done. I thought everything was going to be VOD, and it's There's just again, we obviously love movies. We have a movie show, but I know a lot of people that are actually okay with it. That they're like, I like having the movies on demand. I like that, I don't have to drive all the way over there and pay $75 for 3 tickets and concessions and all that, which I understand. It's just a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Overall. But now that was just a little introduction, but jumping into the film, what a movie. I think it's on par with the first one.
Yeah.
I even I'm dying to see it again. I haven't been able to go see it again. But it's one of those where I'm like, do I have to like 2 less because without 1, 2 wouldn't exist?
I think they're just kind of like intertwined.
And I don't want to compare it to this film because it's nothing like it, but it's just like saying like Godfather 1 and 2, which one do you like better? For me, they're equals. They're one film. Like you can watch them back to back and it's perfectly fine. And I feel like Quiet Place is just a longer story to what we got in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everyone involved crushes it. Cillian Murphy, I thought was going to have a way smaller role than he actually did in this film.
No, so let me ask you this: did Cillian Murphy and Melissa Fitzsimmons, did their journey remind you of The Last of Us?
Last of Us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The entire time, right? They're gathering like first aid kits and supplies, and they're going through this post-apocalyptic world, and other people come out. Like I love this movie, man. So one of the things I really like about what Krasinski's done with these 2 films is he knows how to open a movie. So in the first film, it takes place in day 89, and they have 3 kids at the time. And in the first movie, you see one of the kids get brutally murdered by one of the aliens, and that like sets the tone for the rest of it, how serious it is. And then like it flashes forward a year later, basically, and Emily Blunt's pregnant again, another child coming. It sets everything up. This movie decides we're gonna start the film on day 1. The first day these things invaded. And I don't know about you, but with apocalypse movies, I love seeing when everything hits the fan. When just the entire world falls apart. World War Z, I will watch that scene where the zombies first hit over and over again. I just watched Greenland with Gerard Butler.
I haven't seen it. Everyone telling me it's actually a pretty good movie.
It's a good, entertaining movie, man. And that's when there's a comet coming. I love just watching that setup of day 1. This is what's going to happen. The world's going to end, and this is how it starts. And this movie starts with day 1. It looks like a small New York town. You get introduced to Cillian Murphy very briefly at the beginning, and he does something at the beginning of this movie that sets up, that comes into play later.
And I knew it was going to come back. I promise you. When I saw him do that little gesture, I was like, that's coming back. I don't know how, but I know that's going to come back.
And now all of us are going to know how to do it too, like in the future. It's going to come up again.
It's so great.
But watching day 1 happen it's thrilling. You see it a little bit in the trailer, like Emily Blunt's driving away from a bus that has the alien on it, and it also sets the tone for the rest of this film. And then everything picks up where they're on the move now. Their house is basically destroyed. They have no more supplies. They've lost their father, and they just need to go out and find help somehow, somewhere. Now they have a baby too, by the way. They don't have a safe space for the baby. So they go walking out, and you get to one of my favorite things about this. You hear it in the trailer is Cillian Murphy says the people that are still out there aren't worth saving, and Melissa Fitzsimmons is basically like, no, they are worth saving. We need to find them, and we need to, be a part of them. We need to help them, and that's kind of the dynamic that's going on the entire time.
Part of me. So I didn't. One thing that I wanted to ask you: did you think we were gonna? I know it wasn't a huge time spent on day 1, but it was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be.
It was just enough. That's all I needed.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But it was so great because I thought that was going to be a maybe 6-7 minute scene tops. And then, we were just going to jump into the film. But no, it took its time.
Yeah.
Again, it wasn't a crazy amount of time, but I loved the beginning of that film. And that's, again, something that I said that I was going to repeat. And I'm going to say it one more time for another movie. But the beginning of this film was so strong. And it just, again, just like he did in part 1, he sets it up perfectly for this. And the whole time, let me tell you, when you watch the trailer and you just said line that you just said that Cillian Murphy said, these people aren't worth saving. I'm like, oh, we're going to have like another Walking Dead. And, it's going to be like a little clique. They're going to go into, some place and people are going to, start going to war with each other. It's not that at all.
No.
It's not that at all.
Everyone's trying to survive. Everyone's just trying to make it out there in this new world that they live in. And like, there's so much we can dig into this. Like, one of the things that fascinates me is the aliens themselves. I don't even. I want to hear your theory on this, because this is my theory. I don't think they're actually aliens. Like, I don't think they came from the sky like we think they do. If you look at these aliens, no. So here's what I'm saying. I think they're man-made. I think they're man-made creatures, because you see at the beginning there's a TV news report going on. I won't say what's in it, but there's a TV news report in day one going on, and it's basically a lab kind of blew up. And then if you notice with these creatures, they're not eating anybody. They're not looking for food. They're just killing to kill. They're like they'll take swipes and just knock sound out, basically. So I'm wondering if this is like a population control thing that was created in a lab. That's my theory.
That is a theory indeed, sir. But no, I can't tell you that that's something that I thought whatsoever. No, it's not that it's a spoiler. I just don't want to get into too much detail while talking about this movie. But no, I don't think so. That's just me.
You think they're just aliens from the sky?
Yeah. Let's talk more of a obviously, we can gush about this film. I'll make a whole episode on this, which eventually we will.
Yeah, we gotta cut it off soon.
Yeah, we will. But just again, hats off to John, like I know him, John Krasinski.
Jonathan.
Sound editing again, because he makes sure that he, when it cuts to what's her character's name? Simmons' character's name. I always forget. Reagan. When it cuts down to Reagan's character, and she's deaf in the film, the movie completely goes like silent, and you don't hear anything. And I feel like there's little moments where she's not, she can't hear anything, and she's just doing things, and you're literally seeing the monster, the creature coming slow. Man, it just builds such great, like, tense moments.
He's really good at spatial awareness. He knows how to use the entire.
And he shows you exactly what he needs to show you, no more, no less. And then the camera just turns this way, and then you're like, oh my God.
Yes.
So great. Noah Jupe is another. I felt like they gave him a lot less to do in this film, but he's still.
No, I feel like they gave him more to do in this film.
Really? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I barely saw him.
His scene at the beginning, not at the very beginning, but like the basically when we first see the family after day one.
Great acting.
Oh my gosh, it's brutal to see what happens. Yeah. And he's a fan. I've seen him in other movies like Honey Boy and Ford versus Ferrari, and he's gotten taller. That's something that they need to, if they're gonna make a third film, which they probably will, they need to address that pretty quick, because I feel like he's starting to hit puberty pretty quickly there.
Yeah, so, he's going fast. But and Emily Blunt,
she's kind of a supporting character in this, and I like that.
Dude, let me tell you, the baby himself. The baby was awesome in this, because the cues and the crying and the oxygen. Yeah. Oh my God, dude! I was so tense watching this movie, and I'm like, this movie is kicking ass, and I didn't want it to end. And it's such a short film. It's it just goes in there, does what it needs to do, and then it just ends. Which I keep hearing a lot of people telling me they don't like the ending. Completely fine with it.
It's up for debate. We can unpack that another day, but I feel like this movie works on every level. It's definitely gonna win an award for best sound mixing or best sound. Basically, I feel like the last one did too, if I'm not mistaken. And I can't wait to see this again and see where they take this franchise. So
this is definitely a recommendation. I can't recommend this enough. Go see it in the theater. If you have one choice to watch over the weekend, this is it. Like, out of every film that we're reviewing today, this is it.
This is one. Yeah.
And obviously, if you haven't seen part one, see part one, because you will be completely lost. But I can't recommend this movie enough. So far, this is the best movie of the year.
Yeah. Not a lot of competition, but also it's hard to see anything like really topping this for a while.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for you guys all to see it, and we can maybe do a spoiler discussion down the road. Let's take a break from horror movies And jump in a more family-friendly affair. I said that A Quiet Place is going to end up winning Best Sound. I feel like we have a pretty solid lock for Best Costumes when we get to Cruella here. Cruella is going to be our next film. Disney just released their latest live-action film. It's not a remake. This is kind of a prequel to 101 Dalmatians about the famous Disney villain Cruella de Vil. And if you ever seen the 101 Dalmatians movies, she's this woman who basically wants to skin dogs and use their fur for clothing. And this movie is her origin story. I did not really care to go in to see this film. I was very hesitant. Yeah, it just kind of came. It kind of was dumped. Disney was like, you know what, we got to get this film out here. Everyone's looking forward to like Black Widow and stuff like that. But we've had this film kind of locked up. Let's just get out Memorial Day weekend and see what happens. And I feel like they made the right decision because Cruella is awesome. Like I really had a great time with it. It comes from Craig Gillespie, who Jader knows very well. Directed.
You took my joke. You took my
Hi,
joke.
Tanya.
You took my joke, but
Yep.
yes, that's it. I do know him very well. He caused me to slow down.
Yeah, I mean, I love everything, like all the pieces around this. Craig Gillespie as the director. You have Emma Stone as the title character. Emma Thompson as supporting. Other great supporting performances around there from like Paul Walter Hauser, Joseph Fry, and Mark Strong. And this movie, it doesn't feel Disney, but it also does. It takes Disney in a new direction. It takes it in a punk rock kind of like trying to be more modern in a way instead of this fantasy element to it. And I really enjoyed it. And this movie is just showing how she grew up to become the villain that we know. And it's a good little back and forth that Emma Stone and Emma Thompson have. It works super well. And I really enjoyed it. And Jader, I know you just watched it recently also. What did you think?
Same. Same exact feelings as you, man. Didn't run to go see it. I waited till Monday to go check it out. And I really liked it. I didn't. I had my issues with it, which we will get into in a bit. But overall, I just wasn't expecting this, right? And this is someone from someone that hasn't seen Maleficent 1 or 2. If it's a old school Disney cartoon movie, I've seen it. So like Lion King remake, Jungle Book remake, Aladdin remake, I've seen all those. But for some reason, when it was a spin-off movie, I just I didn't watch it. And I'm glad I did. I was hesitant. I wanted to go see A Quiet Place again, but we decided to see something. Steph and I decided to see something we both haven't seen, and I really, really enjoyed it overall. Overall, I really did like it. Same thing. Just the it's a different take on the character. This is again, I just mentioned that I watched all the cartoon movies growing up. Cruella was a very, very evil person. So I'll get into my negative first before jumping into what everything else that worked for me. So we all know, and just like as Kyle mentioned, that she's just an evil person. She wants to skin puppies and Dalmatians, and it's just that's so cruel. And that for me was, obviously when you think they're making this movie, this is what I'm thinking is what it's gonna lead up to it. And we don't get that. We actually sympathize with this character a lot, and we know, and when she just goes through so much in her life that we see why she turns bad. It's kind of, and you're gonna hear this comparison over and over and over again if you haven't heard it already. It is really like Devil Wears Prada, because it's all about fashion, and it's just like the Meryl Streep and Apprentice and Mentor. Yeah, and then you have also the Joker take, where it's it's origins of someone that becomes a villain and so forth. So it really is those two movies meshed in together with with even a little bit of Oceans in it, because they have some heist in it, and so I was expecting this character to just turn evil, like worse and worse, and by the end of the film, I'm like, she's not that bad a person. She's if they're gonna try to set up a sequel, like based off what I saw already, I'm kind of like, yeah, man, go for it. Like you've had a hard life, you know, and it's not something that I want to do coming from an origin story as like Cruella's origin story.
Yeah.
However, I know that Disney's not going to do something as evil because they have a brand to protect. So I get all that. But that was my main gripe with the film. Now, jumping into what I did like, it was just a fresh take on a character. I
Well, let
thought
me ask you this. One of the big things people are talking about from this film is the music. And to me, this was probably my favorite part of the movie. I really enjoyed how the music carries us and keeps the energy up from scene to scene. And everything kind of fits too. It's trying to like emulate this period, this time of London during the, because this movie's kind of dreary too, as far as colors and stuff. It's, you know, dark outside in London most of the time, and the colors really come from the costumes and stuff. But it emulates this feeling of punk rock, rebellious side, and I really enjoyed how the music takes us from one scene to the next to the next. But did you like the music in this film, Jader?
a lot of people were saying how it didn't work for them, like friends that I talked to and whatnot. And I thought it actually did work for me a lot. Um, I love music. It's no it's that's not, that's not a mystery here or anything like that. And usually, to be completely honest with you, I'm one against the way that they use music, like how they did it in Suicide Squad. But I felt with Suicide Squad they threw a great song on for a montage that made no sense to it. While in this one they used it properly. They used the music properly as they were going, and it was nice hearing the Ramones, Nancy Sinatra,
The Doors.
Doors. You heard the Rolling Stones at the end of the film. I thought it was used very properly. I really like the music to this. It was one of my favorite things about it, to be completely honest with you. And not only that, again, Emma Stone and Emma Thompson just crush it. They crush it. Like you can tell that they had a lot of
They had a
fun.
great time.
They
Yeah.
had a great time doing this. And it was such a pleasant surprise. Honestly, I feel like it's a sleeper. Like I know it's gonna make its movie because the Disney brand is attached to it, and Disney's always gonna make their money. But it was a good take, man. It was a good take on the character. It was certainly something I was not expecting whatsoever out of this film. So I like when I go into a movie not expecting, and again, I bet you everybody that goes into a movie not expecting it to be as great and coming out and be like, man, that was actually pretty good. Another thing that I feel like slightly hurts this film is the runtime. I feel like it's a little long. They could definitely chopped it up 20 minutes, and you would have had a little bit more combat. And I'm not saying I don't think the pacing is off. I feel like every scene was entertaining, and I was like, man, this should be almost done. And I had like looked at what time it was, and I'm like, yeah, it started at 9:00. It should be almost done. And then no, I was still in there for quite a while after that, and I was like, holy shit, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, there's a twist in this movie that comes along. I think it comes along a little too late. Not even too late. I would say more of just it takes way too long to even get to this moment, this plot twist that happens. And it starts basically how many Disney movies start. There is some kind of tragedy that happens, and that sets up the character for the rest of it. But it's a fun family film, but also it's really for adults. Kids can enjoy this, but not young kids. I feel like if you're above 10 years old, then this is a good movie for like 10-year-old girls and up. And then any adult who goes in to see it, because the music contributes to it. The energy is great. I feel like the characters are really interesting. They have a lot of depth to them. And they can be a little outlandish, yeah, but they're not to the point where it's ridiculous. Like you're too far out of it. All the actors do a great job. And I feel like Craig Gillespie, your favorite director out there, this is just something he likes doing.
I don't hate him, right? I hate that I forgot that he directed a certain film. There's a difference.
Well, yeah. So Fright Night. I just rewatched Fright Night a couple days ago too, and I thought about this. He likes doing this with the music. I don't know if you noticed. And I, Tanya, that soundtrack is loaded. There's
Absolutely.
so many songs in that film, and then in this film, it's kind of the same thing. So I'm looking forward to whatever he does next. I really like his style. I like the way he makes. It seems like the actors really enjoy working with him too, and they had a great time doing this. So I give Cruella a recommendation. I think it's something the family could really enjoy watching if you want to go back to the theaters, but you can't take your kids to see a horror movie.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't. I honestly didn't see that twist coming. I thought I was predicting certain things on it. I'm like, oh, this is gonna happen, and this is definitely gonna happen, and this is gonna, and I was hitting some of the marks. But that twist, whether it came late or not for you, I really enjoyed it because I didn't see that coming at all. I was like, oh, I like this. I like where this went. I think the movie it's kind of undeserving of a PG-13 rating. I guess it's certain things in it that's just a slightly darker, but it's like a strong PG film. I don't think it was anything
Yeah.
crazy.
Um.
So if
there
that's it, just might not be appealing to anybody under the age of 12, 13. But if you're afraid to take your kid because you think there's going to be something inappropriate, I don't think there's anything inappropriate in it that you wouldn't be able to take your kid. Like I would show this movie to my daughter if she seemed interested. You know, it's which is funny. I know we're not talking Cruella right now. I mean, Quiet Place, but I should show my daughter Quiet Place. It's a conversation for another day. Anyways, but yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, I do recommend this movie. I feel obviously it's some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it. It's just like film itself.
Yeah.
I was just pleasantly surprised, and this is a movie that again, maybe if you don't want to run to the theater and watch it, but definitely when it comes out on Disney Plus when it's available. With the
It is on Disney Plus right now, so you can buy it on Disney.
Yeah,
Plus.
but you can buy it for $30. Is what I'm saying. But if you don't want to go and spend the money, or you can't spend the money, just make sure to stream it once it's available for you because it's definitely a treat of a film. It's a surprise hit, man. It's really really good. So this is another recommendation for me. This was one of the reasons why I was excited for this episode was that. It was the fact that I'm like, man, like the last couple of movies we've gotten, I feel like, hey, we're back in the theater and we actually have good movies to watch. So
yes, and that's gonna kind of take us into our final discussion tonight. I kind of want to start with just the Conjuring universe in general. So the I'll put up the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, but to kind of talk about these Conjuring movies in general, these film started back in 2013, and I remember when this came out, people kind of like related this to a modern Exorcist almost. It's a scary film about a family that's just moves into a new house, and there's a demon in there, and it's trying to possess one of them. And then we're introduced to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are these real life demonologists who go in there to kind of investigate these spirits and try to help whatever families need help with them. And this movie was so successful, it just branched off and started this whole new universe. We got the Annabelle films, we got The Nun, we got 2 sequels to The Conjuring. Curse of La Llorona, I believe, is a part of this universe as well. There was a lot of stuff that was thrown in here, and it's become one of them. Actually, besides Marvel, this is the only other successful shared universe out there at this point. So, of course, they keep making these films over and over again. And before we get to the new one that just came out, that only you saw, Jader, I didn't get to see The Conjuring, Devil Made Me Do It. But the first 2 films, how do you feel about these Conjuring films and just the universe in general?
The first Conjuring film is in my top, and it's hard to say because I love horror, but it's definitely my top 3 of all time. All right. Sometimes I put it at number 2. Sometimes I put it at number 3, but it's up there with The Exorcist and the Thing. Those are my top 3. Okay. Absolutely love those films. Just quick little story. The Conjuring trailer, when it first came out, didn't really grasp me as it should have. Me being obviously a fan of The Exorcist and demon possession films and all that, but they were just overkilling them, overdoing them. You know, you had The Haunting in Connecticut and The Last Exorcism and all these movies that were just coming out that just weren't hitting that mark for me whatsoever. Then you had your Paranormal Activity movies, and it's just
Your found footage movies took over.
and I just wasn't liking these movies. You had some hidden gems, from time to time, but nothing really like nothing like The Exorcist for me. And so I didn't see Conjuring opening day as I usually would have. And I'll never forget this. My sister calls me and she's like, Jay, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm at home. And she's like, I just got out of The Conjuring. And I'm like, oh, yeah, how was it? And she's like, you need to go see this movie. She goes, it scared the living shit out of me. She goes, I don't even want to go to sleep right now. And then I'm like, well, it's like 6 p.m. She goes, I'm sleeping with the lights on tonight. This movie's so freaking scary. Again, this is coming from someone that's scared of literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, if I'm calling you, you have to know that I feel a certain way about it. I'm like, man, you're right. And she goes, in fact, she goes, are you home? I'm like, I just told you, yes, I am. She goes, I'll watch Adrian for you. And you go get tickets and you go see this movie right now. And I'm like, man, that's a deal. So went to go see the movie.
Here's my kids.
Yeah, here you go. And again, it was very few movies. Hereditary was one that left me like that as well when it finished. Conjuring ended, and I remember just kind of like pausing and just being like, that was so amazing. I'm like, was it the hype? Was it just, it was just so different. And it's just because, I mean, we can say it now, but then I didn't know how masterful of a director James Wan was, right? Like I had seen the Insidious film, which I liked a lot, and I thought that was great. Saw, obviously, I'm a huge Saw fan. I've seen the episode, yep. But for me, this was just a different. No. But I mean horror.
Yeah.
It's a different take, right? And again, camera works, sound editing, and just when you think the scares are coming, he just pauses. He plays with you as you're watching this film. He plays with you, and then boom, he hits you. So the story of The Conjuring was just so intriguing to me because I'm watching this movie. It just felt so realistic. And I'm watching this and I'm like, did this really happen? And as soon as that movie ended, I went home and I Googled and I'm like, did this happen? And then I started reading about, Ed and Lorraine Warren. And I'm like, oh my God, they're the ones that did the Amityville Horror, which is a story I was very familiar, but I didn't know about that they went to the house afterwards and just started reading a bunch on.
And they opened the movie with the Annabelle stuff. Like you even seen that case. Like, oh,
exactly. And then what's that? So it was just nuts to me. And this is just the first Conjuring. So then they obviously announced Conjuring 2. You can imagine my expectations for that film, which is funny because it was the first movie. This Conjuring 2 was how I got this gig in the first place. It was the very first movie I was able to review. And as much as I really did enjoy Conjuring 2, it didn't grasp me like the first one did because of the realism of it. That's the one thing that I will tell you, that I felt like it was kind of like a stretch towards the end. I'm like, did that really happen? Like that felt like complete bullshit to me. But then they started, spinning off all these others. You had your Annabelle films, Annabelle Creation, which for me is one of the strongest in the universe. Annabelle Creation, if you guys have not seen this, you need to see it. The Annabelle Comes Home was a lot of fun. Then you had The Curse of La Llorona, directed by the same director that directed the Devil Made Me Do It, and The Nun. Overall, I like these films. There's a lot of them that get a lot of shit, but the reason why I like these movies overall, especially La Llorona and The Nun, I know they're bottom tier in the universe, but like Curse of La Llorona is something that it's a urban legend that I grew up with, right? So my grandma used to tell me these stories about the weeping woman when I was 4 or 5 years old. She would turn off the lights and tell me these stories and scare the shit out of me. And this is just something that was always like, my grandma loves to scare people. She used to tell us all these stories, and she would tell us all these urban legends from, Central America. And I was, scared shitless. So La Llorona is always something that stuck with me. So going to see that movie, I actually wanted to take my grandma to go see the movie. And she's like, I'm not watching that. And then we ended up watching it at home, and then she was like, that's not scary. She didn't really like the movie as much as I did, but I thought the movie would have been better done if it had been done in Mexico, not in California, just to make it a little bit like, the family moves to Mexico and they tell her about the curse. I feel like that would have worked a little bit better. But that's neither here nor there. We're not reviewing that film. And The Nun, again, I grew up in a very, 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 very strong Catholic home. So anything that has to do with, Christianity, Catholicism,
Religion.
Jesus, the devil, it's just something that always appeals to me because of the power of good and evil. I always grew up knowing that there is a heaven and hell, there is God and the devil. So it's just something, that's why these movies, I'm so intrigued by them. So the universe overall for me works. There's not any movie that I hate. There's just some that I don't care to watch again. So again, coming off of Conjuring 1 and 2, again.
Well, I mean, I'll jump in here too. I really like both of these films too, Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. I think I'm more leaning towards Conjuring 2 than the original Conjuring, but I can see both sides of the argument. The Conjuring feels more like a throwback to the classic horror films, and it feels a lot more grounded, whereas Conjuring 2, you kind of brought this up to me, feels a lot more Hollywood. It's definitely pumped up. It's more and more, but it still works too. I really enjoy the different spirits they throw in there, like the Crooked Man, and the nun gets introduced in there too. And I think it's also a great expansion of our main characters, Ed and Lorraine Warren, who are really the heart and soul of all three of these films, from basically what you told me from the third one. And I think they're kind of what carries you into these things. In the second movie, I didn't think the family was as interesting as Ed and Lorraine Warren. I really wanted to wait for them to get involved, and that's where it really.
In the second film, right?
Yeah,
that was my issue with the film as well, where you have the. I don't want to call them the Parsons family.
I don't know what they are.
They start with
remember the daughter's name was Janet.
Yeah. The Pearsons, I don't know, but the family in the first film, I felt like every girl in that movie delivered. The mom and the dad delivered. It was just again a great ensemble cast. That if we broke away from Ed and Lorraine Warren, which were the more interesting characters, obviously, we were still okay. With Conjuring 2, I did have that issue as well, where I was like, all right, well when is Lorraine and Ed coming up? Like, one of my favorite scenes in that movie, believe it or not, is it's very like not tense scene, is when he's singing Elvis Presley in the guitar. It was like very chill scene, because some shit obviously is going to go down right after that. But I just loved seeing them interact with the family, where I'm like, all right, now we're good. Let's keep it moving, Yeah. So that was my issue with Conjuring 2, besides the ending of the film, where it was just too much to me. And it was like
the ending of the film is like the demon had this plan that really didn't make any sense. Like, it was way overdone. There was basically like a tree with a spear on it, and they want to throw someone out the window to land on that spear. So it was too much at the end, But I think as a whole, the film works. What I really love about that one is they don't waste any time in it. That movie is long, like about 15 minutes longer than the first movie. And it's not like one of those films where
you're getting cut
family
off.
See the. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, we're good now. Yeah.
What I like about the second one is it's not one of those films where it's in the family, but it won't come for anyone else. No, in this film, like there's anywhere. All right, you take over.
Yeah, you're getting completely cut off, dude. I'm sorry, but I don't know. It's whenever you pause, you go. But anyways, going over with the Conjuring 3, or the Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I'm gonna start off again with, it's the worst of the 3 Conjuring films, but it's not the worst in the whole Conjuring universe overall. Basically, and again, this is something I said in the beginning that I'm gonna just say over and over again. I feel like it was more poor marketing, or just my expectations were completely different. I thought we were going to have a trial film, trial and possession, kind of like The Exorcism of Emily Rose. That's what I was expecting. So I do say this to whoever is watching this review. If you are expecting that, take that expectation out, because you're not in that courtroom for more than 2 minutes. Like, that's as much as you're gonna get. This is very much an Ed and Lorraine film, and it's them. Basically, what the movie's about is that they're exorcising a demon. They're doing an exorcism on a young boy, and and then the demon goes into another guy, and basically he, while being possessed, commits a crime and he murders someone. He has obviously no recollection of it, and he's the first person to go on trial for he pleads not guilty. He pleads not guilty for committing the crime because he said he was possessed by the devil. So basically, the prosecution, they're trying to when they're in trial, they're telling his lawyer, basically he gets either the death sentence, or Ed and Lorraine have to come up with actual evidence that he was possessed, or he's going to get killed. So it's up to them to obviously uncover this mystery that's going on. So again, I thought it was going to be more courtroom drama with a little bit of horror. Again, I don't know if you guys have seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose. I think that is a very strong film. If you haven't, I would definitely check that one out. But it kind of went back and forth, like show what went down with her, the possession, and then it would show courtroom and why, obviously the court doesn't believe in, the devil and all that stuff. And, it goes back and forth. This doesn't really do that. They basically go to court. They tell him, find us evidence, or he gets the lethal injection. And it's just them obviously going on this kind of like, cat and mouse game. Come over here and then figure out something, and then they just start uncovering needs and all that stuff very, very, very slowly. Overall, the movie has really good scares. It has a great opening, just like I've said multiple times on the show today. Great opening scene where they could have actually saved that scene and actually done it towards the end of the film, because it starts off with a big bang. I feel like the scares are overall great. When there's tense moments, you are very tense. And just, again, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson's relationship and chemistry in this film is out of this world. I feel like Patrick Wilson does crank it up a little bit more. Something happens to him in the very beginning of the film where, again, I don't want to give too many spoilers, but something happens to him, and because of that, he's like kind of a different character, and he has different challenges throughout the whole film because of that incident that happened in the beginning of the film, which I thought was great. And he played that very, very well. But not only that, since I said that Michael Chavez is the director of the film, and he did The Curse of La Llorona, this is a big step up for him coming from that film. With everything, to be honest with you, scares were perfectly timed. Pacing of the film, I felt like the pacing of the film was done right. Lighting is another thing that he did really, really well, and especially towards the end, I feel there's an exorcist scene at the end of the movie, and just the lighting and the way that everything, the way he shows everything was really well done. So kudos to him for me. It's a beautiful looking film.
So let me ask you this: was James Wan's presence missed? Because I know he did the first two, and then in this one, obviously, he just produced it. He didn't direct it. Yeah. So I had people questioning going into it, like, why are we even doing a third one at this point? Or are they going to run it into the ground? So how did you feel about that?
Slightly, because it's just, and it feels more of a, I don't know. I don't think James Wan wrote one or two. I'm not 100% on that. I know I think he wrote one of them. But direction-wise, I feel like this guy was trying to get as close to one, and he did an overall good job. But you can feel like that there was a little oomph that was missing.
Yeah.
Acting, there was no. I actually would have preferred, and I've said this before, Rory O'Connor, which plays Arnie, which is the guy on trial in the film. He was really great. I just wanted to see more of him. Again, I know that in Conjuring 2, we said that the family wasn't really something that we were trying to that we were kind of bored with them, if that's the word we want to use, right? And we wanted to see where the Warrens were at the time. This is the movie where I felt like I would have liked to spend more time with their side characters. Ed and Lorraine Warren were great, but I really like these characters. And then he has, basically his girlfriend, which I can't even think of her name right now. I'm trying to look right now, but he just has this chemistry with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's little brother, which is the boy that was originally possessed in the film. And their relationship and their love reminded me, and it kind of like bounces off like Ed and Lorraine. So I wanted to see more of them, and we didn't get that. So this is one film that I did want to spend time with their side characters, and it was just more of a Ed and Lorraine trying to help this boy out, and just them uncovering this curse that's going around.
So does this feel like a conclusion to a trilogy here, or do you think they could easily expand out more and more?
Well, these are all based on true events, so
you can make each case a film.
So many that they haven't touched yet, and so they can. I feel like, and I don't feel like Patrick Wilson or Vera Farmiga are tapping out just yet. They look again like there's times where let's use Jennifer Lawrence going from First Class to seeing Dark Phoenix. You already know she's tapped out. I don't see that. I feel like they bring the energy in every single movie that they're in. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of cases that they haven't shown yet. I know for a fact that they probably won't do Amityville Horror because that movie's been done so many times.
Right.
But there's a lot of interesting cases. In fact, I came home last night, and right before I went to sleep, I started looking up cases that they've done, and I found 3 doozies, man, where I'm like, that would be a great film.
And I'm sure they're well aware of that at this point.
Of course. So again, it sucks to say that it's the worst of the 3. So I don't want to give it anything too negative. That if you don't want to run to, I always think the theater experience is best. I feel like the sound in a theater and the big screen and the dark lights is always going to help a horror movie 100 times. But if you do want to wait for HBO Max to watch this film, why not? Just make sure you try to do it right. You got a little surround sound, turn off the lights. It will help the experience more. But I'm telling you, man, there's scenes in a morgue that are awesome. There's a scene in an underground tunnel that is awesome. There's just great scenes, great scares. But overall, just story-wise, not that it's boring, because it's not a boring film. There's always something going on in every single scene. You're discovering a little bit more of the story. I didn't find it boring. It's just, a little bit lacking it was lacking something that the first 2 didn't have, and it might be James Wan.
And also, like, the reason why I say the trilogy thing is because that's what most people like to go to, but also every horror franchise has like 8, 9, 10, like there's so many, any Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, it's your Saw, Halloween, it's whatever it may be. Again,
I don't know what's going on. We have technical difficulty, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't get any of that, dude. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, so but what I was saying is, like, every horror franchise has at least 7, 8, 9 of them. Like, there's so many of them at this point. So I feel like Conjuring, this one makes money, which I don't know about dropping it the week after A Quiet Place 2.
Yeah,
how it can go, but at the same time, we can. It's an interesting decision by Warner Bros. Let's see if it pays off for them. I'm sure this movie wasn't too expensive to make. Just knowing horror films in general, it'll probably make money. It'll do well, and we'll see where the franchise goes from this. So it sounds like,
if you think about it, this is like the 9th one in this franchise, because you had 2 Conjurings before. You have 3 Annabelles, which is 5. La Llorona,
none.
La Llorona, none. Oh, so it would be 8th, right?
Yeah, this would be the 8th.
Yeah.
I feel like we're missing one, though. I don't know why.
It's 3 Annabelles.
Yeah.
Technically 3 Conjurings. La Llorona, none.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're going to go after this. I'm sure. I mean, this is a successful franchise. They're not going to let it die. And I know Wilson and Farmiga have been in now. This would be their 4th film, because they were in Annabelle Comes Home for a couple scenes.
Yeah.
I would like to see them come back. They're really charismatic and charming actors, and I feel like they're a good little source of levity in these dark horror films. So I would love to see them come back and continue this franchise. Maybe have a good send off eventually down the road. Uh, um, so it sounds like to me, this is a soft recommendation. It's not like hey, go watch this. It's a good movie that you can check out kind of anytime. Right? Okay.
Dude, what is going on today?
I'm moving. That's what's happening.
Jesus Christ.
Jeez. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's end this right here then. Any last things you want to say, Jader, before I cut out again?
No, I think this is going to be one of those rare episodes where I actually recommend every single one of these movies. Obviously, if you're going to have a choice, money's tight, and you can only choose one. I guess if I'm going to put it in numerical order, I would definitely watch A Quiet Place first. Depending if you're a horror junkie, I would put Conjuring or Cruella second. So teeter-totter those 2 and 3, and then Army of the Dead probably be last on the list. But either way, they're all recommendations on my behalf. I'm just so happy movies are back, man.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a good time. But definitely Quiet Place 2. Please go watch it. Please go support that film because I do want to see a third one. I'm not bored of that world. I don't think I'll be bored of that world anytime soon, as long as they just, keep bringing us what they've brought us so far.
Well, movies are back, and the Jader and Kyle show is back as well. We're not going anywhere, guys. The show's going to continue even after I move. We're still going to do this, and we're going to keep it going. This was episode 48. Episode 50 is going to be coming up pretty soon. We are going to be more consistent with this again, guys. Just had a lot going on. So please tune in next time. We're going to have more guests coming. Maybe we might add some new categories to some of our category list that we have, and we're going to spice up the show even more. So tune in when you can, guys. Thank you all again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on another episode